The inhabitants of Clute Meadow are busy at work in the village and the surrounding fields. They don't... You arrive at a crossroads with a tavern on the corner. A warm light is emanating from its window, lighting up the road around it. A stone sculpture of a sheep stands in front of the door. You observe the surroundings, but the road is empty and no one leaves the tavern. You notice a broken window on the first floor, which has been boarded up with planks.
Huh. Why are we standing here and just getting wet from the outside?
You enter the tavern with a determined stride and are greeted by a thick wall of pipe smoke. The dozen or so drinkers at the tables In the tavern there are half a dozen people sitting at the tables, and just as many at the bar, clearly farmers and labourers from the surrounding villages. Boindale pays no attention to the other guests and trudges over to a table. Together with his brother, you follow him and sit down. The landlord comes out from behind the bar.
What can I get you?
You hear surly muttering from one of the tables.
What are groundlings doing showing their faces here, now of all times?
Did two travellers pass this way? One was a famulus, the other a mercenary.
The landlord shakes his head indifferently and mumbles something incoherently. One of the guests is about to say something, but shuts up when the person next to him gives him a poke. You stand up and turn to the room.
This round's on me.
The faces of the guests and the landlord brighten up immediately. The landlord gets to work pulling everyone a beer and handing out the tankards. Some of the guests say cheers to you as they get their drinks. You turn to the guest who'd muttered something about groundlings.
And why is it so strange that we're here?
The man glances up briefly and then stares drunkenly.
I was not at the stone gateway, and I don't know what happened, but you can be sure...
The drunkard and his neighbour are given a start. They mumble an apology.
Come on now, tell us what...
The man who was going to speak the first time round looks over to his neighbour, who nods.
Two travellers spent the night here. One had a robe on, the other was a mercenary. The next day they left, all in a hurry. Said they'd been attacked by an elf.
One of the other drinkers finds his voice too.
There was a hell of a lot of noise that night. As if there'd been a dust-up.
They left some gold here for the trouble. I thought they meant the noise, but then I noticed the broken window.
The landlord sighs.
Please don't tell anyone else about this. Who would want to spend a night in a tavern where an elf has been sighted?
We're tired and long.
Of course, gentlemen.
You spend. By the evening campfire, Boindale rummages around in his rucksack and pulls out a cheese wrapped in a cloth. He sticks a fist-sized piece on a spit, and the smell it gives off makes you hold your breath.
Oh, alright.
Oh, picky, are you? Hardly surprising, considering you were brought up by humans. It's ruined your taste.
You pull the warm piece of cheese from the stick. It tastes dreadful. Your fingers will... There are dead orcs lying in the defensive trenches and strewn over the meadows in front of the city. Some of the locals are busy throwing the bodies on pyres, while others repair the minor damage done to the city wall. You enter the city and the garrison at its centre without being spoken to. It is only when you reach a heavy oak door that leads, you assume, to the commanding officer's headquarters, that you are halted by a guard.
Dwarves, eh? Seems we aren't to be spared anything these days. What do you want?
It looks like you've got an orc problem.
Had. Our scouts detected the army early on, and we were able to repel them without any great losses. A small army of orcs like that couldn't breach our mighty walls.
Your mighty walls look like they're about to collapse under their own weight.
The soldier isn't intimidated by Boindale. He juts his chin out confidently.
At least they stopped the orcs, unlike your dwarven walls in the north.
I didn't know that Steepleton was so big. Impressive place.
We have fertile meadows. That's what we have to thank for the city's growth in recent years. At the time of my grandparents, Steepleton was nothing more than the tower on a hill with a couple of houses. Now we have a market, a temple, and of course, there are royal messengers stationed in the tower, which doesn't do the city's coffers any harm at all.
You said you had messengers here. I'd like to send a carrier pigeon to Lot Yonan in Yonandar.
Lot Yonan in Yonandar. No problem. It will cost you 90 gold pieces.
If the carrier pigeon delivers my message safely to Lot Yonan, then it's worth its weight in gold.
Then I'll send for a scribe. You can dictate your message and
Thank you, but I can write it myself. Paper and ink will be sufficient.
The guard nods. You don't blame him for thinking you are illiterate. Very few ordinary folk can read or write. Once you've been given the writing implements, you write down a summary of what happened at the meeting of the Alf and the Orcs.
I must speak with your commander.
Commander Valor doesn't have time. He's still very busy dealing with the aftermath of the orc attack.
Commander Valor is dealing with the orc problem, and I have important information concerning it. I witnessed a meeting of the orc lords.
The guard eyes you with interest and tries to judge whether you can be trusted. Finally, he stands up, opens a door, and enters the room ahead of you. The commander looks up from his work. The guard repeats what you told him.
Your information about the orcs could be useful. We have fought them back, but not yet defeated them. Come in.
The commander listens attentively, and now and then asks questions, as you tell him about the 3 orc armies and the meeting of the chieftains with the Alf Sintharas.
This sounds very grave. I will send out messengers. We must be prepared.
The Orc army that attacked you was able to escape.
What was left of it, they headed south. Unfortunately, I can't send anyone after them until the damage to the wall is repaired.
The commander looks at you with a disgruntled expression. It suddenly seems clear to him who he has standing in front of him.
If you're interested, you could try and wipe out the mob that got away and collect the bounty.
Killing pig noses and getting paid for it? Where's the heads?
You grin at Boindil and then turn back to the commander.
We'll see what we can do. We must press on. Farewell, Commander Valor.
Kill as many orcs as you can, dwarves. Palandir will be with you.
You see a camp with a wagon and 2 people on the edge of the path. Behind them, Black Saddle towers up above a thick, dark forest, about a half a day's journey away. Two horses are standing near the covered wagon, grazing. You can make out the shapes of boxes and barrels on the wagon. The 2 humans are wearing smart clothes and are sitting next to a large campfire. They don't seem to have noticed you yet. You don't want to give them a shock, so you address them while you're still a distance away.
Hello, friends. Is there any space by your fire?
The 2 traders look up and visibly jump when they see you 3 dwarves. It doesn't escape your attention that you seem to be causing the traders some uneasiness. But you take up their...
We're only travelers. We're looking for someone who's said to live on Black Saddle. A hermit.
Someone who lives here?
The traders exchange amazed looks.
If they live here, they must be mad.
Normally we wouldn't stop and rest here, but the horses are too exhausted. Our departure from Parista was delayed and we must have driven them...
Why does Black Saddle make you feel uneasy? It doesn't look particularly inviting, but it's only a mountain.
Only a mountain? You don't know the legend.
The trader looks at you and the twins for affirmation.
Black Saddle was once known as Cloud Piercer, and it towered up into the heavens, the upper slopes of pure gold and the summit covered in snow. They called on the dwarves to help them. They were able to tunnel up through Cloud Piercer to the top. They hollowed it out and carried away the gold. The humans demanded that the treasure be shared, but the dwarves refused. There were too many holes inside for it to hold together. It collapsed and buried both greedy parties underneath it. The mountain lost its tremendous size and its beauty, and ever since has haunted both humans and dwarves with its erosive hatred, causing even the rocks to turn black over time.
Pfft, never heard of it. Sounds like human tittle-tattle. Dwarves would never hollow out a mountain so much that it collapses.
You come from Parista? How...
No news to speak of, I'd say. Well, except for Nudin the Knowledge Lusty.
You know Nudin the Knowledge Lusty. Lot Yonan introduced him to you many years ago during a visit.
What about him?
Oh, nothing really. Just rumors.
You nod at the trader to continue.
He's behaving strangely and disappears into his tower for days on end.
Merely looks ill, apparently. Well, that's what someone I know said. Perhaps he got a spell wrong.
Later in the night, after eating together and some friendly conversation by the campfire, it's a night in which nothing happens, and the next morning the traders set off early. After breakfast, after a march through the thick pine forest, Black Saddle, the sinister tabletop mountain, and your journey's destination rises up before you.
Are you sure that the Famulus lives here?
Yes, according to Lot Yonan.
Although you try to put a lot of assurance into your voice, you too see no signs that anyone lives here.
No castle, no tunnel, no camp. There's nothing here but mountain.
Then we'll have to take a closer look.
You do that, scholar. We'll be waiting for you here.
You think about objecting, but it would just be a waste of breath.
Found anything? A hidden camp? A secret doorway? Gold?
No. Not yet.
Found anything?
No. No trace of Guren here either. If he's close, then there must be some kind of cave somewhere in the mountain. An old tree. Looks like it could fall down at any moment. There we go. I should be able to get up here. Oh, phew. That was close. Too steep. I can't get a grip anywhere. I hope this is all worth it. Definitely a rock face. Here's a... No, forget it. There's something engraved on it.
You realize with surprise that they are runes in the Dwarven language.
Built with the blood of our enemies, be unyielding as the rock, and soak the land in their blood. Huh? Hello? Master Guren? Lot Yonan sent me to bring some items back to you. My inquiries are almost at an end. That means I can finally go to be with my sunshine. I have never been to Greenglade, but I think I will like it there. I deposited my most valuable things in the grave of Horengarth before my departure and secured it with magic. The password is...
You recognize the following words as rune names, but they're written in the learned language, so you don't know which they are.
Greenglade. Oh, great. Useful. An eternal flame. I know who taught him that. Hello? Is anyone there?
A series of weapons that are all clearly of dwarven origin. The spider webs and rust suggest they have been here for quite a while.
Thirdly, the fortress belongs to the Dwarf haters. Lorenber's dwarves are not only as unyielding as a mountain, they are also as destructive as an avalanche, and would batter into lesser kingdoms just as relentlessly. The Four should find no salvation in Vrachus, only eternal damnation, so that they suffer indescribable torment between the worlds.
You have heard of the dwarf haters, but this is the first time you have read their hateful words. You feel sick and turn away.
Born of stone, forged in battle, arise reborn from the blood of the enemy.
You're not sure if you really want to know what was once in this basin. The whole place gives you the feeling that a decent dwarf shouldn't hang around too long.
A sarcophagus. Perhaps I could open it. A rune. Clearly magical. Ah, that's it. Garen's most valuable belongings. Letters from his lover, a silk scarf that must have belonged to her, and a medallion.
It looks as though Garen lived in the fortress for a while. It also seems...
He's not stealing, it would just be...
You see sketches and notes on the architectural features, statues and wall reliefs. It seems Garen spent a lot of time studying this place.
Maybe he's... graves. Could be... Even the dark evergreen forest.
So, Scholar, what are the results of your inquiries?
There is an abandoned fortress in the mountain, and I think it belonged to the Thirdlings.
Boindale's eyes narrow.
The blasted dwarf killers!
A Thirdling fortress? Here? In the middle of Girdlegard? We must let High King Gundrabur know about this.
The fortress has been long abandoned by the looks of it. Anyway, I can't go to Ogre's death until I have completed my quest. Goren is in Greenglade.
Huh.
A Thirdling fortress? Here, in the heart of Girdlegard. That's strange, isn't it?
And worrying. But they've always been wily. They move in the shadows and kill there too if they can. Do you know their story?
I've read about it. Lorenberg, their progenitor, rejected the name that Vrakas gave him, who in turn did not give him any special talent, so his kingdom studied war.
It helps them defending the East, but it also meant they ended up confronting the other kingdoms. No dwarf would ever even think of injuring one of his kind, never mind killing them. But the dwarf killers are proud of it. When they were even more powerful, they wanted to become the rulers of all dwarves. They are envious of our skills. They haven't been heard of for a long time, but you can be sure there isn't a single dwarf alive who doesn't hate them.
The High King? Why do you want to bring me to him?
All right then. It's about the choice of the new High King. Gandagar, the king of the Fourthlings, is with his entourage in Ogre's death and is supposed to ascend the throne.
But our acting High King Gundrabur wants to prevent that from happening. He fears that Gandagar wishes to instigate a war against the elves.
But what have I got to do with that?
Boindale is about to say something, but is silenced by a nudge in the side from his brother.
High King Gundrabur will explain everything when the time comes.
You look distrustfully from one twin to the other. Boindale has donned an innocent expression, and Boendal doesn't give you the impression that he has anything else to say on the matter.
What does this King Gandagar have against the elves?
Dwarves and elves just don't get along. Braccus and Satalia made us that way.
I know that, but going to war for just that, after all this time?
Well, there must be more behind it. They say that the king of the Fourthlings is full of hatred and is a hothead in this matter.
Whatever, your High King must wait. I have a quest to carry out in Greenglade.
But our quest is...
Boindale raises a placatory hand and throws his rucksack onto his back in preparation.
Let it be, dear brother. Look at him. He has made his decision, and you will not be able to change his stubborn dwarven mind.
You can't help but smile.